What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown for UFC Vegas 32. We have Corey Sanhagen going against the return of TJ Dillashaw. Really looking forward to that fight. And this card as a whole, I think this card's very good. Can't wait to break it down for you guys from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you do want a more in-depth breakdown on why I do like which fighter, you guys can check out my full card prediction video that I did post on Tuesday and also did a live stream on Friday as well. So go check that out if you have not. But before we get started with the video, if you guys can leave a like, also subscribe if you have not to the channel so you not miss out on all the other content throughout the week. It is always much appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the Numbers. I'll be posting all my bets on Saturday afternoon. Typically, I might add a bet here or there, but we will be talking about 7 bets that I do have right now. So I say we get into it, starting with the first fight of the night. Hannah Goldy going against Diana Belbita. Hannah Goldy, she is plus 100 now, and Diana Belbita is minus 120. So I'll say this. If you got in on Diana Belbita early, you did your job. You got a great line. I saw plus 160 sitting there. It was on BetMGM, I believe, and I did not have access to that line. But if I did, I would have a Belbita ticket at plus 160, but I don't. And at that point, I saw it was like plus 132. I decided to just pass. But if you got plus money on Belbita, probably not the worst look in the world. I will be picking her to win. As far as a bet, no way am I touching Diana Belbita as a favorite, or really this fight as a whole. I want nothing to do with it. Even like the props or everything just does not interest me at all. I'll pick Diana Belbita. I think the reach will be a difference, but man, did Hannah Goldy look jacked city at the weigh-in. So that definitely scared away any thought at all, which I didn't have much thoughts of it, but of playing out Belbita in this fight. So as far as a pick, I'll stick with my pick of Belbita, but man, did Goldy look good at the weigh-in. So getting into the next fight of the night, we have Ciara Eubanks going against Elise Reed. We have Eubanks minus 375, and Elise Reed is plus 310. I see Eubanks like minus 400 on some books, and I only expect the line to keep getting wider. So I did bet this fight about a week and a half ago, and I have 2.5 units on Ciara Eubanks at minus 240. So got in early here. I did beat some line movement, and I'll be honest, this would have been a max bet for me had I not had concerns about Eubanks with the weight cut. So Eubanks is somebody that does struggle to get down to 135, and she's now coming down to 125, and she's 36 years old. Those were my red flags. Those are my question marks. But Eubanks weighed in. She made weight. She looked good. So, I mean, all those red flags, I pretty much threw them out the window. So I like Eubanks here. I have that 2.5 unit play. I like it even more now that she made weight, because I'll be honest with you guys, I really did not think she was going to make weight. So she proved me wrong. I like it. And I like Eubanks in terms of like a parlay piece. She is in my Hail Mary, and I'm kind of looking at a potential Eubanks violence bet. So I see that the submission prop is plus 380 on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's plus 500. And I see that the knockout prop is plus 390. So yeah, I kind of like violence here. Inside the distance is plus 150. I might be adding a little sprinkle, whether it is the sub prop, in terms of, Ciara Eubanks. I think she finishes Elise Reed here, who she can be taken down easily. There's going to be a huge discrepancy in the size, and in my opinion, a huge discrepancy in the skill in general. So I think Eubanks does get Reed out of here. Inside the distance, no bet on the inside the distance yet, but it is something I'm really taking a look at. So tune in to Twitter and Instagram to see if I do pull the trigger on a Eubanks violence bet. All right, next we have Julio Arce going against Andre Yule. I like Arce here in terms of picking a winner. I think it's going to be very competitive, though, early. What I don't like about Yule, though, is not the best ground game in the world. He is improving it. I think if Arce does come out here and, goes for takedowns, I think he can have some success. But you kind of take a look at it, not something Arce really does in his career, but Yule does slow down as the fight goes on. So Arce, I do think, is going to kind of take over as the fight goes on. I think he for sure wins that third round. It's just the first two can be very competitive, very close. So I do favor Arce, slightly. It's just minus 200. Personally, I do think that's a little bit too wide, but I'll stick with Arce as terms of a pick. But as far as like a prop or anything, if anything, like Arce by decision plus 125 is not terrible. But the minus 200 does seem a little bit wide to me personally. So I'll take Arce to win, but no bet there for me. Next, we have Jordan Williams going against Mickey Gall. And yeah, I like this fight for Jordan Williams. You take a look at it, he has an 88% takedown defense. Very good takedown defense. And I kind of think Mickey Gall is going to need takedowns to have success in this fight. And I kind of don't see that happening. So I see Jordan Williams stuffing the takedowns. keeping us on the feet. And Jordan Williams, he's very hittable, but he's very, very tough, has a very good chin, and he throws a ton of volume. He goes after it. And Mickey Gall, very hittable in his own right as well. And both guys, solid finishers. I believe Jordan Williams has like an 89% finish rate. Mickey Gall, I think it's like around 80% as well, all by submission even. So I think there's a good chance that there's a finish in this fight. And this was another one that I'm looking at it where I don't have a bet on it yet, but I'm really looking at the under 2.5 rounds, which I believe it's like minus 120, minus 125. I don't hate that. The fight doesn't go to decision, minus 150. I don't hate that. So that's something I'm really, really taking a look at, is of a potential violence bet. Because I know I don't really like Williams at minus 170, but I do think someone's getting finished in this fight. We have seen Williams finish twice, and we have seen Gall finished once as well. So I think there's a very good chance that somebody does go down in this fight, and I'm very tempted in a violence bet. Have not pulled the trigger yet, but it's something I'm really, really considering. Next, we have Ian Hines going against Nasruddin Imavov. So I have a parlay on this card. I'll get the parlay out of the way because it is back-to-back, kind of like last week where I had Lemos D-Rod back-to-back. Same thing here. I have Ian Hines in a parlay with Soriano Allen under 2.5 rounds. I got that at plus 152, and I have 1.25 units on it. That's my parlay for the week. And in terms of Allen, or in terms of Hines, I think he does win this fight. You take a look at it. This is arguably going to be one of the easier fights of Ian Hines' UFC career. You take a look at some of the guys he's facing, and Derrick Brunson, who has a 94% takedown defense, Omari Akhmedov, very good takedown defense, very good grappler. Guys like Kelvin Gastelum with a very good takedown defense, very good grappler in his own right. And now he's going against Nasruddin Imavov, who got taken down 4 times by Phil Hawes. He got controlled for like 11 minutes against Phil Hawes. And what is Hines going to want to do? Hines is going to want to do just that. He's going to want to control Imavov against the cage. He's going to want to mix in the takedowns. And I don't think Imavov has the best takedown defense. He has a very good get-up game, but that's only going to, allow Hines to get more and more takedowns as the fight goes on. And honestly, I kind of think Imavov is knockout or bust there. I really don't see any scenario where Hines decides, hey, I'm not going to wrestle for the first time in my UFC career. I'm not going to go out there and go for takedowns. I just don't see that happening. So I think Imavov does need a knockout to win this fight. And you take a look at Hines, he's very durable. He's never been knocked out. So I like Hines, have him in a parlay, and hopefully that hits. And we'll talk about the next leg now. Punahele Soriano going against Brendan Allen. This will close out my parlay, 1.25 units on the under 2.5 rounds in this fight, parlayed with Hines, plus 152. And yeah, I see this fight finishing one way or another. I do also have a straight bet on Punahele Soriano, minus 110, 1.5 units on it. This is a bet that I got in, I want to say like 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago. I kind of expected the line to go in favor of Soriano, and it kind of stayed around minus 110 really all week up until recently, where some money is coming in on the Soriano side. We now see him at minus 125, minus 120 on some books as well. And I definitely get it because you take a look at Allen's career, and I thought I broke it down really good on my live stream, where the only people that Allen has taken down in the UFC is Kevin Holland and Carl Roberson. Both those guys have a sub 50% takedown defense. Soriano, I'm sure you guys have heard it by now. State champion wrestler, wrestled D3 in college. He's a judo brown belt, training at a very good camp in Extreme Couture. So you got to think his takedown defense is on point. It's just the hard part is, and why the line is probably a pick'em, is we haven't really seen it. We are making some assumptions. Soriano has stuffed 0 takedowns in the UFC. I've seen him stuff a takedown here or there on the regional scene, but nothing, really to really take note of. So there are some question marks with the takedown defense of Soriano. I'm expecting it to be good. Training at a good camp, being as wide and as thick as he is. If you guys saw the weigh-ins, man, this guy is jacked city. But yeah, I think he's going to have many opportunities to finish Allen here early. Like Soriano, he's a finisher. I mean, 7 of his wins are in the first round. This guy hits like an absolute truck, and Brendan Allen is very hittable. Brendan Allen, a negative significant strike differential. Brendan Allen, a 39% striking defense. You do not want to have a 39% striking defense against Punahele Soriano. So I personally think Soriano knocks him out round 1. But yeah, if Allen can get him down to the mat, I think Allen will have a ton of success. It's just, will he be able to do that? But either way, I see this fight finishing, whether it is Soriano getting the knockout, whether it is Allen getting the sub. I think the under 2.5 is a very good look. I think the fight doesn't go to decision. The line is now like minus 275, maybe a solid parlay piece as well. And I personally parlayed the under 2.5 rounds with Ian Heinisch, and I do like that parlay quite a bit. But as far as a pick and a bet, I do have Soriano, and I got a -110. All right, next we have the People's main event. We have Randy Costa going against Adrian Yanez. Very good fight here, and I do have another bet. I have a violence bet. I have the fight does not go to decision, -210, and I have 2 units on that. I saw the under 2.5 rounds. I think it was on like DraftKings Sportsbook. It was like -175, and there's another book as well. It was like -175. If you can get the under 2.5 rounds at -175, definitely go for it. Because, you know, fun fact, Randy Costa, if you add all of his minutes in the cage combined in his MMA career, it will not equal over that 2.5 mark. And another fun fact, you know, Randy Costa has never been over that 1.5 mark even. I mean, the latest he's went into a fight was, I think, like the first minute or two in that second round against Brandon Davis, where we saw where the one time that Costa has been out of the first round, he did slow down a ton. And of course, there is potential for improvements for Costa. But I do think this fight's going to finish one way or another, whether it is Costa early or whether it is Yanez late. I'm personally leaning more towards the Yanez side, but instead of the -225, I kind of just took the fight doesn't go to decision instead. It covers both ends. If Costa wins, I think it'll be early. If Yanez wins, I think it could be also early or second or third round. So I like violence here. As far as a pick, I'll go Yanez. But I do like the fight doesn't go to decision or the under even. Next, we have Miranda Maverick going against Macy Barber. Maverick -155, Barber +135. In terms of a pure pick, I'll go with Maverick. I think she has more tools. I think she can get takedowns potentially. And I do think she has the better ground game as well. But if she cannot get takedowns, because Barber does have a very good takedown defense of 80%, I think it's going to be a very, very close fight. I do think it's going to be more competitive than the line does indicate. I want nothing to do with this fight at all. I don't even want to look at any props or anything. I will pick Miranda Maverick for the win, just based on the fact that I think she can get takedowns and have success on the mat. It's just, what happens if she doesn't? What happens if this fight is standing for 15 minutes? It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. But another thing I will mention, you know, Miranda Maverick, she's making massive improvements. I mean, you take a look at, you know, one of her fights, you know, against Jillian Robertson or Jojua, and don't get me wrong, not the best competition, and you compare them to a couple fights a couple years ago, and her striking has improved leaps and bounds, high volume fighter as well, and she's just getting better and better each fight, and as is Barber. But, you know, Miranda Maverick's making like massive improvements fight by fight, and I do think this is going to be the best Miranda Maverick we've ever seen. But the -155, no thank you. I'm not playing that. Yeah, I'll pick Maverick, but I just don't want to bet this fight. Derrick Minner going against Darren Elkins. I do have 2 bets on this fight. I have the under 2.5 rounds in this fight at +145. I have 1 unit on it, and I also have a quarter unit on Darren Elkins wins in round 3, +1,800. So, you know, I think there's a lot of recency bias in terms of the line here, because we saw Derrick Minner go to the decision for one of the very few times in his career. He has like an 80 or like a 94 or 93 finish rate. It's something crazy for Minner. I think he has like maybe 2 or 3 decision wins on his entire career. He has like 37 fights, and he has 10 finish losses, Derrick Minner, 8 by submission. And typically he is kind of a kill or be killed fighter. Either he gets that early submission or he gets submitted himself. That's how Derrick Minner's fights typically go. But we saw in his last fight against Charles Rosa, where he looked like he made improvements. It looked like his cardio was better, but we got to take into account that, hey, it was Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa is somebody that made Justin James look like he had cardio. Charles Rosa is somebody that lost a 3rd round to Justin James. So I don't want to look into that all that much. Charles Rosa has like a 45% takedown defense. Charles Rosa is content to be on his back, and Minner is the complete opposite. Minner is going to make you work. Minner has very good submission defense. Elkins is going to make you work. Elkins has very good submission defense, and he's going to make you, you know, work, unlike Rosa did. Rosa just kind of, you know, was content to stay on his back, throw up submissions that did not work, whereas Elkins is going to, you know, try to get reversals, try to get sweeps, try to work his way back up, and it's going to really put an effect on Minner's cardio, I believe. So as far as a pick, I'm going Elkins. I'm going with the dog here. I'm not going to bet it, but man, I'm very tempted on an Elkins bet, but I'm already invested in that under 2.5. I think Elkins does win. I'm going to say he wins either 2nd or 3rd round, which that 3rd round prop does come into play, 0.25 units on it, +1,800. But I do think this fight finishes one way or another, whether it is Minner early or whether it is Elkins late. So I like that quite a bit. Next, we have Kyler Phillips going against Julian Paiva. Yeah, Paiva is coming up a weight class here to 135. And Phillips is somebody that has been looking phenomenal. I wasn't really sold on Phillips prior to the Song Yadong fight. You take a look at it, he hasn't really fought the best competition in the world, and he's blowing these guys out of the water. It's just not the best competition. So him really fighting Song Yadong and beating him as convincingly as he did, really did open my eyes on Kyler Phillips. And Julian Paiva is somebody that has had an up and down career thus far in the UFC, and I do think this move up to 135 is definitely going to benefit him in a way, but I also think he's going to be fighting bigger guys. He was used to being the much bigger guy down at 125, fighting guys like Kai France, I believe is like 5'4", fighting guys like Rogerio Bontorin, who I think is like 5'5", and fighting guys like Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who's I believe 5'4" as well. So he's going to be fighting a bigger guy here in Phillips. And by the way, Paiva is like a half an inch, it looked like, taller than Phillips, but Phillips is like much wider, much more filled out, and I think Phillips can mix in takedowns here. You take a look at Paiva's career in the UFC, and he's actually been taken down in every single fight, UFC and Contender Series combined, outside of the Mark De La Rosa fight. He was taken down 2 times by Kai France, the striker. He was taken down once by Alan Nascimento. He was taken down 2 times by Bontorin, which Bontorin's a very good wrestler, but still, he was taken down 2 times by Zhalgas Zhumagulov, and the only time he was not taken down was against Mark De La Rosa, who Mark De La Rosa has now been cut, and Mark De La Rosa does have a 13% takedown accuracy. So I think Phillips is, to be honest, better everywhere. I think he has the better striking. Paiva has a negative significant strike differential. Paiva has a 51% striking defense. He let Mark De La Rosa outstrike him in that first round in terms of significant strikes. He got outstruck by Zhalgas Zhumagulov 66-52. And I think that Phillips can have success on the feet, and I think Phillips can mix in the takedowns if need be. I mean, if you're getting taken down by Kai France twice, you're getting taken down by Zhalgas Zhumagulov twice, both guys that are very small, 5'4", 5'5", I think that Phillips, a very good wrestler in his own right, a very good grappler in his own right, can definitely mix in takedowns here or there. So I like Phillips. I do have a bet on him. I got him at -215. -215. I bet this fight like 3 weeks ago. I got in early here, 2.5 units on it. I did expect the line to move. He got all the way to like -300 at one point, and he's now coming back down. I think it's like -175, -180. At this point, probably solid parlay piece. But if you did get in early, especially at the -150, it opened up on BetOnline, and it also opened up -188 on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you got in early, I think it's a very, very good bet. But the line where it is at now could be slightly wide, but I do think Kyler Phillips does get this win, probably by decision. Next, we have the main event, Corey Sanhagen going against TJ Dillashaw, and yeah, I think the line's kind of off. I'm going to pick Sanhagen just due to the fact that there were multiple red flags in regards to Dillashaw. He is now a 35-year-old bantamweight, a 2.5-year layoff coming off of a PED suspension. Sanhagen's been more active. Sanhagen's been looking phenomenal. Sanhagen's a younger fighter by 6 years. But if Dillashaw shows up, and this is the Dillashaw of old, this is 2018, 2017 Dillashaw, it's going to be a very competitive fight. Sanhagen has a 30% takedown defense, and Dillashaw is a very good wrestler. And we have seen Dillashaw go to his wrestling and fights to win them. And, he could very well do that here. It's just the question marks and the red flags of Dillashaw that's kind of, making me pick Sanhagen. But from a betting perspective, man, I think this line's kind of off. Like -200 Sanhagen just seems kind of crazy to me, because if Dillashaw does show up and he is, the same Dillashaw we saw, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this fight's going to be competitive for sure. So as far as a pick, I'll go Sanhagen, but if I was forced to make a bet on this fight, it probably would be dog or pass. But yeah, I have no action on this main event. I know people like betting the main event, and I'm sure everybody will, but for me, it's a pass. If anything, a dog or pass, but I don't expect myself to have any action on this fight. I really don't even like any props or nothing like that. I'm going to sit back and watch it. It's a good fight. Corey Sanhagen's been on an absolute roll. Dillashaw, we haven't seen him in a while, but he could surprise some people. So as far as a pick, due to the question marks and the red flags, I'll go Sanhagen, but the -200 I do think is slightly wide. So I'll go over my bets real quick. I have 2.5 units on Kyler Phillips, -215. 2.5 units on CR Eubanks, -240. Those are my biggest bets of the card. I do hopefully hit those, or hope to hit those. Punahele Soriano, 1.5 units, -110. I have Darren Elkins versus Derrick Minner, under 2.5 rounds, +145, 1 unit on it. Darren Elkins wins in round 3, +1800, 0.25 units on it. Castellanos fight doesn't go to decision, -210, 2 units on it. And Ian Hines parlayed with the Soriano Allen under 2.5 rounds, plus 152. 1.25 units on it. Those are my bets. That's my action. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. I'll be posting my final bets. I don't believe I'll add anything really outside of I'm looking at the Williams Gall under 2.5 rounds potentially, and I'm looking at a potential Eubanks violence prop as well. But other than that, that's my action for the card. So best of luck this week, guys. If you do want to check out my live stream going live 1 hour prior to when the prelims start, go for it. I'm going to be talking kind of my final thoughts for the card 1 hour prior, kind of like a live before lock situation. We can talk some DK, talk some final bets, all the good stuff, and just talk it up and get ready for the fights on Saturday. So that's about it, guys, and good luck for UFC Vegas 32. Let's make some money. Let's get it.